Welcome to Inside Games, the only gaming news show brave enough to play Stalker 2 a month before its release. It's scary and hard.
Yeah, those are two good descriptors for it. The zone is scary and hard. It's been a long wait for Stalker 2. I don't know. I have some interesting associations with Stalker, and for when it came out and the kind of game it was, and then now seeing Stalker 2, it's very cool. I'm very excited for it. I don't know, Bruce. What are your top line takeaways?
I mean, it was interesting because like usually when they sit you down in these little events, we went and played thanks to Microsoft, and we went and sat down in their little area and we got to play. Lawrence, you played about 4 hours of it, right?
More like two and a half.
Two. Okay, I played like an hour and a half of it, and I want to say within like 10 minutes I was dead, like right away. Like I was like, why is this so hard? Like it was literally exactly what Stalker is, because when you play Stalker is very, very hard. And Stalker 2 feels modernized, meaning like when you play it, you sit down, it kind of feels like maybe a little bit of a Call of Duty type of thing, and you're like, oh, I think I get it, and you do not. Like you right away, anything and everything will kill you in Stalker 2. Which I kind of appreciated the more I played.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. That was sort of my takeaway too, is that it is modernized in a lot of presentable ways. There's quest tracking. It's got a tutorial. You kind of know where to go and what to do in the earlier hours of the game. But also, yeah, it still seems to maintain the original spirit of Stalker. It's not quite as bad, I think, as Stalker 1. That was intense. That was like an old school kind of dungeon RPG where just everything in the world will kill you, and you have to sort of scrape away victory from that condition. This one's got aspects of that. I think they still try to recreate the need to loot, just the amount of bullets it takes to drop one mutant that's running around. Yeah, they're thick, and it makes scrounging important because you need all those resources to get by, and it keeps the world feeling intimidating, but not in a Stalker 1 kind of way, which was I remember playing Stalker 1 and I was lost. I had no idea where to go, no idea what to do. Everything killed me. And that has a From Software kind of appeal, but I think they made a lot of changes and modifications to that experience with Stalker 2 that'll make it feel a lot more approachable for a lot more people. I think the thing that I'm thinking is it has a kind of Bethesda feel that Bethesda games seem to have lost along the way. It's got a little bite. It still has choice in a lot of the quests and stories and ways you interact with characters. And you still feel like you have to earn your place through the world, as opposed to something like Starfield where you have infinite bullets, guns kill everything, and you can just load right to quests. So I think maybe it has that feeling, that kind of open world danger plus authoring my own adventure that a lot of people probably haven't been getting from games lately. So hopefully they'll get that from this one.
That's a really good point. And I'm sure the first question a lot of people are going to ask is there a difficulty slider? I didn't look. Did you look to see if there was a difficulty slider?
That's a good question. No, I didn't look. I was pretty happy. I mean, honestly, I was pretty pleased with how the game sort of shoved back. So I didn't really ferret around for that stuff.
Yeah, I think because that's if they do include that, which they probably will. I mean, I would imagine. Then you could just blast through it like a Bethesda game. But Lawrence is correct. It is part of the experience of Stalker to run it like I'm watching the gameplay that you're gonna watch, and the character is just basically like backing away from 3 or 4 mutants and firing 2 or 3 shots, and that's all you can do. Like you can't run forward and just blast, and then everything goes down. It's so scary, and it's also very much like Tarkov when you're looting. So you have to shoot and kill and then loot, but you never are paused. Like you're never paused. You have to like really quickly loot, go through somebody's backpack, pick up more bullets, reload, shoot more. You know, like it's very panicked. And that's what I think the cities are for. Once you get into the cities of Stalkers, and those are a little safer, and you don't have to worry too much about being panicked out in the wasteland like you do in Stalker 2.
I'm trying to think of where to go from that, because the city, like there's this first town you go to, and as far as like towns go, it's actually a pretty decent first RPG town. There's a lot of NPCs, there's a lot of quests, a lot of breadcrumbs that'll send you out into the zone to have your own adventures. And that's a pretty cool refinement, honestly, compared to like Stalker 1 or games from way back when. So I thought that was pretty cool. I think that'll appeal to people. I like that you can, I don't know if you can just open fire inside of a city. I didn't test that.
I didn't test that either. I wanted to, because because the game felt like you could.
It does. Yeah, they tee up a lot of decision moments that they're pretty explicit about in the opening hours of the game anyway, because they're trying to tell you how the world works and stuff like that. On the walk up to the first town, I wrote down little notes about an encounter that I had. There were just these dudes that were firing at a house. I think I saw you do this part too.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, you can just walk by. You can just leave them. I was like, no, let's kill these assholes and loot them. So I did that. And then the guy they were shooting at called me over. He asked me for a med kit. I could have not given it to him, but I did. And it opened up another quest where he told me to go find somebody else. So that's pretty cool. It's like a string of events that sort of invites your curiosity, asks you to make some decisions, or you make some decisions just through your play. And then that leads to a series of actions that is basically authored by you, as opposed to just being steps in a quest line. Now, for all I know, those things could have been a lot more scripted than they seemed, but that's sort of, I feel like that's what they're going for with this game, is that, yeah, it is sort of your world to go out and explore versus load up a quest list with 50 tasks that you then just check off in order.
Yeah, that's a good point. That side quest, because you're right, I did that too. And just so if you're watching this, the gameplay that they gave us is not our gameplay. Lawrence and I played for a bunch. We weren't able to record it. But the gameplay that they give us is about 15 minutes of gameplay, and it probably will not be exactly representative of what Lawrence and I did, but it's close. Anyways, back to that side quest that Lawrence picked up. I also got the feeling that if you went in, because I helped those guys and gave them the med kit, did the whole deal, and then he's like, go to this stash, and you go to this stash that's in this like radioactive helicopter, and then that helicopter takes you to a cave, and like, I feel like you could go and explore those areas without the side quest at all. You could just go and jump into that radioactive helicopter and steal that guy's shit, and then you would never know what it was for or where it was supposed to be. I could be wrong. Again, that maybe that only spawns in the world once that side quest starts for you, but it felt like all that stuff would exist regardless of whether or not you were in the quest line.
Yeah, the quest lines just kind of help you find it and give you some intentionality to what you're doing. Which, again, throwing back to the original Stalker is really important, because the original Stalker didn't have a lot of that. Not a lot of directed exploration. So that's what this game has. It's like, hey, go out there and do that thing. But along the way, a bunch of stuff happens. You run into a magical portal that sucks you into a vortex and kills you immediately or something like that. By the way, those are back. The Anomalies, you still get the bolt that you can just kind of toss around.
Oh, yeah.
And then that's just fun to just be tossing infinite bolts as you're walking around. I don't know. It's got like an old cheesy video game appeal to it that I really like.
Yeah, those Anomalies are funny too, because they feel like graphical glitches. You know, they look like you're like, did they mean for it to look like this? And they did, because you don't realize that it will kill you. So like, it's like if you accidentally walk into the edge of it, which you have no idea where the edge of the anomaly is, you really got to go wide on those things, because if you don't and you just clip the edge or whatever, you'll light on fire or get sucked into a black hole or something. And that happened to me a bunch of times where I was like, fuck man, I thought for sure I was around that thing. Like, how was I like, and just happened to see another anomaly, and that could have been a graphical glitch, but it's not.
Yeah, they kind of always look like that, just like us conspicuous twirls of wind and stuff like that. Yeah. And I realize we're kind of talking about some core aspects of the game, but I haven't even covered the overarching thing. So this takes place in Chernobyl. The idea is that the nuclear fallout has just made everything really weird, which is a pretty good setting for a video game. But that means there's mutants running around. It's kind of a lawless area too. There's no government that claims that land. So a bunch of like opportunists moved in to loot. You have basically a bunch of freelancers and mercenaries just doing jobs and odds and ends for the culture and the like specific communities that developed inside the zone. So you play as a stalker, just like a mercenary, gun for hire. And what I like about that is kind of like, again, video games of yore, old school RPGs, they use that to not imply any morality on your character. And I think even the writing and dialogue in the opening hour of Stalker 2 tries to reinforce that you can do whatever you want, and the game's not here to judge you. You're not a hero. You're just out here trying to find your way in the zone. So I think that's a good setup for a game like this that can also reward, you being a little selfish or acting in your own interests with a lot of the quests.
Yeah, it's that was the feeling I got from Stalker 1, was there was no morality. It was just, you just walk around and just kind of do what you want. And I think the main character, this was maybe my problem with Stalker 1, was the main character doesn't really feel like much, just feels like a person that you're supposed to implant your own wishes and wants onto. And in some ways that's cool, but it's fully voiced. The main character is fully voiced, so you get to hear his voice, and maybe eventually you get attached to that character. I only played an hour or two, so I don't actually know. So I wasn't necessarily attached to those characters and all those. There's a lot of different factions, like Lawrence said, so you're listening to all of these people tell you all the things that you're supposed to do or not supposed to do, and you're like, hold on a minute. Like, and part of the quest, you have to go and charge up this like battery. I don't really know what it was for. You charge this battery, and then you're maybe supposed to bring back the data to another faction. I don't really even know. Again, it was just sort of like, go out there and don't die. that was all it boiled down to for me.
Yeah, pretty much. You were just contracted by some scientist to go get data readings from the zone, and all that stuff kind of plays into a larger plot line, of course, but we didn't really get a good look at that. But speaking of like the characters and stuff, I was really impressed not only with the fact that everyone was voiced, but they were voiced pretty well. You can change the spoken language to Ukrainian, which is pretty cool. Adds to the flavor and the texture of the game. I was impressed with how good the character models looked.
Oh my gosh, the best.
Yeah, again, kind of a Bethesda, even cyberpunk style. When you're talking, the camera kind of zooms into the person you're talking to. And the character models look really good, really expressive. They don't have that kind of hollowed out, glazed over look. I liked how yellowed all the teeth were. Because, everyone's grimy. They've been living out there. The gun models and reload animations looked really, really good. The guns looked really good. I was impressed with the skyboxes. So I'm just kind of my notes are kind of grouped into settings, but yeah, the skyboxes were really good. They have volumetric clouds, which Star Wars Outlaws had as well, and I thought looked great in that game. But there's a day-night cycle, and like you can look up and see the setting sun catching in the clouds and stuff. Meanwhile, you're surrounded by a bunch of weird mutants and vortexes. It's a surreal environment, and I think all the characters and the visuals and the environments play into that. I even found a quest that sent me into a poppy field, kind of like Wizard of Oz, I guess. And yeah, it was just like fields of red flowers and petals swirling through the air. And then that got me high, so I started hearing ghosts screaming at me and stuff. So, and that was just in the first like couple of hours. So there's a lot of environment variety. The characters are interesting and distinct and well performed. Really, it's just like these are some ultra modern production values that I kind of wasn't expecting out of Stalker 2. They seem to be there. Yeah,
when I saw the couple of trailers that they had released, and it looked really, really good. I mean, like, because I don't know if this is on Unreal Engine 5. I would assume that it is. I could be totally wrong about that.
It is, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but it's like they really have squeezed every single, pixel out of Unreal Engine 5 so far. It might be one of the best looking games that I've seen from UE5. And I just didn't expect that because the trailers looked great, and I was like, there's no way to look like that. And it really did. It really did. I was very, very impressed. So I would imagine the minimum specs on PC are going to be pretty rough.
Yeah.
But it, like Lawrence said, this is a modern AAA video game that's currently looks one of the best in the business. I think you can expect that when you fire it up.
Yeah, and that's really exciting. Usually you don't get both. You don't get like gritty RPG video gaminess stuff plus incredible visuals plus what appears to be pretty player authored gaming experiences. Usually the limiters are thrown on somewhere, or you compromise on one of the three, but from what I played, it seems to have it all. As far as like, the only thing I think might not appeal to people is sort of the difficulty and the intensity of that. I kind of like that because I think it makes all the looting important. I like that you can unload a gun for like 2 extra bullets, and it feels good to get those, because when you need to like empty a clip, it doesn't feel great, but you need to stay alive. So when you're just like blind firing and stuff and you blow through all your ammo, it feels good to stack it up again. As opposed to other games where the looting doesn't feel quite so important to the gameplay loop. But yeah, that's the only thing I think might rub some people the wrong way.
Oh, it's going to be very, very hard. I mean, I was just watching again the encounter with I don't know if you probably did this with the invisible mutant, where you're trying to pick up this one artifact, and this invisible mutant.
Oh yeah,
just cloaks itself, and then you don't know where it is, and all of a sudden it's right behind you, of course, and it's swiping at you, and like that's 1 or 2 hits and you're dead. And I died here, I want to say 10 times or whatever in this one area. And you're just constantly medkitting over and over and over, and then firing 2 shots and medkitting, firing 2 shots. And that may not appeal to everybody. So that's why I was hoping that there might be a difficulty slider for people that are not into that. But that said, I did enjoy it, and I'm not usually one. I usually go for the easier side of things just because like I want to blast through a story or whatever and experience the game rather than sitting there and medkitting over and over. But this felt that the tension was correct. There was a nice balance of tension and maybe feeling a little more overpowered, because I would assume as the game goes on, they're going to give you bigger and better weapons, right? You're going to get rocket launchers, you're going to get bigger grenades, you'll probably get flamethrowers and things like that, because of course, this is Stalker 2, so you've got to. So that's going to help you feel a little more overpowered in the zone versus when you first start and all you have is an AK that will sometimes jam. So
yeah, durability. Guns have durability. That's people hate that. But I think the way Stalker 2 does it is pretty smart, because kind of to what you were saying, you can upgrade a gun, and it's a lot more intricate than just like pouring resources in a gun and then it does 5 more damage. It's actually pretty slick. You can like click through the different parts of the gun and upgrade each individual part that gives various stat buffs based on how you're doing it. But like I said, guns have durability, so I think what'll probably happen is you'll invest in a particular gun that you like and then have to keep repairing it when you bring it back to town or something like that. But I kind of like that process where you develop a relationship with your inventory in an RPG like this. I was also just on the kind of core gritty RPG aspect of it. I did kind of like that it does have a full inventory. Let's see here, you have 4 quick access slots. There's a lot of like tap to use and then hold to use something else. So essentially, I think it's like the 2 bumpers were inventory usage items, basically. And you could set the 4 slots for both of those to whatever item you wanted. They kind of auto-propagate as healing items or radiation-reducing items or things like that. But I did like that you can sort of customize and put in there what you want. It's a bit more intricate than like Witcher 3 system or whatever, where like all food is this button and all food gives you the exact same health buff. It's a little more broken out than that. You've also got inventory slots. You can hold 2 rifles, 1 sidearm, and then there's a body and a head slot for armor, because you can get a helmet and body armor and stuff like that. So I think once you kind of spend enough time in the game and buy some good armor and upgrade your gun, you'll probably feel a little more empowered. I think another part of it too is knowing the fights you don't have to take. Stalker has a bit of a survival horror aspect to it, where sometimes it's just not worth fighting something, especially if it's a mutant and it doesn't drop anything. So I think running is sometimes also a good strategy. Oh yeah, and then there's also the artifacts. So this is where it gets very RPG. You find these little irradiated chunks of stuff and you equip them in item slots and they give you a buff of some sort, like increased run speed or something like that. So you can kind of scrape your way towards a build at some point, I think, by customizing your gun and your equipment and your artifact slots. So it's got that for it too, in terms of taking the edge off the difficulty or curating the way you want to play.
To your build point, Lawrence, I think the first probably 5 or 6 hours of this game, you're going to be really struggling to figure out what a build is, because you're just picking up random stuff the entire time. You don't know what you're going to get, when you're going to get it. You don't know which artifact will do what. So it's going to be a lot of really finding your way early on. And if you can get through that, if that doesn't bother you, or if hopefully they give you enough breadcrumbs to make you feel like you don't die immediately to everything, then you will eventually. There's a real satisfaction to that build once you've established it and gotten a really good gun, and then you realize that the enemies that they were throwing at you at the beginning of the game don't mean anything anymore. You just blast right through them. So that's a really exciting feel. So, or Stalker 2 may not be that at all. Maybe it might just be really hard the whole way through. I don't know. These developers they like to make things very, very hard. So this could be you're always on the back foot. You're always struggling. There's never a time you don't feel like you know what you're doing. I don't know though. We'll see.
Yeah, I remember in the original Stalker, by the time I was getting to the end of it, I was hiding from everything. I was sprinting past stuff. There would be like rooms full of mutants, and I would just like quick save and reload until I could sprint through it, save, and just be done with it and move on with my life. So I don't think it's going to be that bad, because I don't think people would tolerate a game like that these days. But yeah, it does sort of make you slip into its vibe, which some people like. I tend to like games like that. Other ones not so much. But in terms of vibe, I think the game does reward you with solid vibe moments. These are the kinds of things that I remember people describing fondly from games like Skyrim. The classic, dudes sitting around a campfire, you know, one noodling on a guitar. Like, there's just some good moments like that. I found this like bombed out old ship that I was crawling through and looting. There was some radio that I turned on and it started playing Soviet pop music from like the 60s. And then a ghost just started throwing shit at me. I never found it, or rather, I would get used to the noise after a while of something rattling, and then I'd just sort of step out of the way and a can would fly past me. So I just go on looting and stuff, and that's a cool moment when there's a ghost that's not necessarily able to kill you. It's just kind of annoying. And you're hearing old music waft through these metal corridors as you're picking up old cans of dog food and random bullets. It's moments like that kind of make it worthwhile.
I know you've not played a lot of Tarkov, and that's the way Tarkov feels, but without the supernatural. So, and I've always kind of heard that Tarkov took a lot of its influence from Stalker, and that really is what this is, but with the supernatural. So if you've gotten used to that, and I think actually a lot of people have played extraction shooters, and they have to, you know, fight for every bullet and sit there and unload guns and stuff like that, and figure out which gun takes what bullet. Then I think you really like Stalker 2. It's kind of like the single player RPG for these multiplayer extraction shooters. So that's just kind of the best way I could describe it. And I really liked it. I really liked it.
Yeah, same. I was impressed at the balance they were able to strike between a game that still has some bite, kind of pun intended, but also a game that's a little more directed and friendly. The fact that it has a tutorial at all is pretty cool. But the quests, like the quest tracking and the way they introduce you to new quests and the way that those can kind of spiral out to get you exploring the world in a way that doesn't feel too directed. To me, that's the real magic and the real amazing thing that I think they've been able to pull off, or at least they were pulling off in the opening area. So that's a great hybrid for me specifically. But again, yeah, some people like an easier ride through an open world game like that. So hopefully accessibility options will take the sting away from people that don't like to get kicked in the crotch over and over.
I agree, though. It's very much like a Star Wars Outlaws scenario where you go and explore and find quests rather than walk up to 10 NPCs and, you know, just hit accept over and over. And I think these open world games are sort of moving toward that a little more, and it works out really well for Stalker 2. It feels really cool, and it feels like you're discovering things. Rather than, you know, going through a checklist, and I like it. It feels good. I think developers are getting more savvy about it.
They really are. Yeah, just in general, I think in the last 10 years or so, the art of guiding but not guiding the player has gone way up. Just tons more sophisticated, and I think you can see a lot of that in this game. Well, just a quick shout out. Part of the preview was they showed us some clips of a documentary that I think Microsoft produced. It's on the YouTube Xbox channel. Let me look this up and make sure. But there's a documentary out called War Game, which is essentially the story of the production of this game, which is happening. You know, an active war broke out around where they were developing the game. So there's some really amazing human stories behind the development of this game, about basically the lengths that they went to protect their development staff. They had to put together all these emergency plans to evacuate overnight if invasion happens. So I'll just leave it at it's worth looking at. And thanks to Microsoft for inviting us to the preview event. That was nice of them. Stalker 2 is coming out on November 20th for PC and Xbox Series X and S. And if you're an old school Bethesda fan, I think you should look forward to it. I think it'll really delight you.
Lawrence, did you have any free drinks or free food? Because you have to disclose that there.
Okay, I had 2 cups of coffee and a scoop of like coconut chia pudding. They had like a breakfast spread out, and I got a little dollop of like coconut chia stuff, and then a little dollop of Greek yogurt, and that's what I ate. I did go back for another cup of coffee though. I was pretty gluttonous. I got two of those. I'm
proud to say I am not bought like Lawrence. I had nothing there. I walked in. Oh wait, they gave me a water bottle. Oh shit.
Although I only take these to give away on stream, so is that better or worse? I don't know. Am I bought if I pay extra money to send this to somebody?
That's why we liked it.
Well, there you go. Stalker 2 was good. There's your bot opinion.
We're bought, Lawrence.
Thanks for watching Inside Games. We'll see you next time.